Last week we unboxed 20 kilos of gold and silver, but that just wasn't enough. Parcel number 2 has come, it's 25 kilos, but even that is not good enough for the Backyard Bullion channel. 2 25 kilo parcels, let's unbox some gold and silver. Hello everybody, Backyard Bullion here, and a warm welcome to you all joining us for what is probably going to be the biggest unboxing I've ever done. No doubt. There's 2 parcels here, about 50 plus kilos worth between them, and we've got a lot to get through, so I'm going to crack on and start opening these up. Now, for those that don't know, this is the group order monstrosity that is, and we are on boxes 2 and 3 of a total order weight of over 100 kilos. So it's an awful lot of gold and silver to go through. And that's kind of the theme of what I want to talk about whilst we crack open these boxes. Now, one of my most popular videos that I've ever done was in fact one of the group order unboxings back in 2018. And it was a big one. It was 1,200 ounces of silver in total. And I posed the question as a devil's advocate argument to say that buying that much silver, or indeed this much silver here today, was actually a pretty bad idea. Now, just want to warn you all that as I go through this, there are going to be, I think, some names on various jiffy bags, so I might have to cut in and out with some censoring just to protect people's privacy, but hopefully we can at least get a bunch of shiny on the table at some point. Now, I want to revisit the devil's advocate argument of silver being a really impractical investment to have, because, I mean, it really is. Like, you look at just these 2 parcels, 50 kilos, and the value of that is approximately, it's going to vary because there's going to be different coins in here of different premiums, but it's approximately £40,000 worth, which is an awful lot. Like that's an awful lot of value. You can definitely make the argument that is a significant life-changing sum of cash for anybody. But it's not out of the realms of possibility for anybody to stack and collect that much silver over a long period of time. And it's just so unwieldy. I mean, I have very few words to describe quite how hard it is to lug around and move these parcels. And yes, it is possible, it is definitely doable to move them around, but at the end of the day, if you're in a situation where you need to move your gold and silver quickly or in any way that is, you know, without major planning, you're going to be up against it, certainly over a short period of time. So it's kind of an interesting thought-provoking process of thinking, well, is it worth buying all this silver still, or should we just give it up and go for gold? Because when you think about it in the gold versus silver ratio side of things, gold versus silver at the moment being around 80, I can't even remember what the recent ratio is, I haven't looked, but 80-ish to 1. You know, you look at this and you think, gosh, well, I could have a very small amount of weight worth in gold for the same amount of monetary value, and it'll be so much more practical, so much more practical. So there's a lot to consider, I think, about you know, whether or not silver in these kind of quantities is in fact worthwhile, because let me tell you, unboxing this stuff here is an honour and a privilege, and it always gets my juices flowing. Don't get me wrong, I really do enjoy doing these, but it's bloody impractical. It really is. I'm not even underestimating how impractical it can be to have this much silver. Now, that sounds like a bit of a first world problem, and I do want to sort of, you know, cage this argument by saying that I am generally incredibly positive on stacking silver. I think if you have the means, I think if you have the ability to store silver and to stack silver, that it is a good buy, even right now. But ultimately, it is going to come down to whether or not you feel, right, that's off camera, so I can get all of these jiffy bags and we can get all the lovely shiny stuff out without showing off people's names. So I do think silver's a good buy right now, but what I do sort of want to talk about is that Back in 2018, when I made my video about the 1200 ounces, and it was one of my most popular videos of all time, it's had over 300,000 views, is that ultimately, you know, this stuff can be really beneficial in the long run. Like back then when we were buying silver in 2018, it was around an average spot price of like £12 an ounce, something like that. And then the premiums on them made basically about £15 an ounce as an average price for bullion grade silver. And now we see, of course, spot price in excess of that, and the premiums are above that as well. So people have been no doubt making profit, whether it be on paper at least, if they haven't sold, but they've been making profit on their silver over that period of time. But 2020 is a very different kettle of fish. I mean, we're talking a very different year to, I think, what everybody expected the year to be at the start. And now, of course, where we are at the sort of back end of the year, we are looking at this year and thinking, yeah, crikey, okay, fair enough. Silver is a good buy. Surely we need to have more of this shiny stuff to protect ourselves into the future. Because with all honesty, there is going to be a significant fallout economically over this next, I think, decade. I cannot see how we are not going to be paying the price of all of these economic stimulus packages and furlough schemes and, you know, massive hits to the economy over the next 10, 20 years even. And it's evident to me anyway, in my mind, that having something that's real and physical and, most importantly, inflation busting is important. However, for silver right now, is this the right metal to be buying? Is this still a bad idea, even in 2020? You know, the monetary profits sort of aside from the video I made back in 2018, I still think that my arguments stand for stacking silver in bulk right now. I think it is impractical. I think that having a significant amount of silver is difficult to store, it's difficult to transport, difficult to move around, difficult to have and own. It's got its own intrinsic difficulties around toning, milk spotting on various different coins from different mints, premiums to factor in as well. You know, there are an awful lot of different elements which, in my opinion, make silver a little bit more of a tricky investment than perhaps gold. More so, I think, now than ever, because we have seen, I think, really interesting movements in prices in 2020. You know, we saw some massive drops in the silver prices at the start of the national and global lockdowns that we were all experiencing. And as a consequence, premiums shot up big time. Now, premiums have started to come down a little bit, but there is no doubt that the premiums are higher right now than they were when I was unboxing a giant pile of silver back in 2018. So, you know, from my perspective, I do think that there is an argument to be made to say that silver right now is certainly more of a risky buy than gold. You look at the premiums, but also an impractical investment compared with gold. If you have a certain amount of cash that you want to invest and you're a decent sized budgeted stacker, even if you're buying, you know, one big lump like this and you have a giant unboxing, it's very hard to store. You know, you're going to have significant amount of secure storage, whether that be a safe or just generally some secure storage within your home. However, with gold, of course, you know, you could have, I think, just let's put this in perspective, 50 kilos of gold is going to be the equivalent of roughly less than about a kilo of gold, just over a kilo of gold, something like that. So 50 kilos of silver equivalent to just over a kilo of gold. No, that's not even quite the ratio. It's going to be less than a kilo of gold. You know, so you put that in perspective. You know, you can have absolutely minute amounts of weight and volume to store your wealth compared with silver. And to put that in perspective, you know, just let's put that in perspective. I'm struggling to get through just box 1 here. We've still got box 2 to even crack on with. 32.15, so 32 and just a small little bit of change. That's how much gold. And of course, gold is twice as dense as silver, so it would be half that in terms of volumetric weight. So let's just call it that. That's the volumetric weight of the equivalent of these 2 giant boxes in gold. You know, that's staggering in my opinion, and that's one of the main reasons why you would say, in my mind anyway, that silver is an impractical investment compared with gold. Now, a lot of you might be thinking this is a bit of a, you know, it's a bit of a first world problem, isn't it? Let's be honest. If your silver is not volumetrically good enough for your investment. But I think what a lot of people, and myself included when I got started with silver, don't appreciate is that if you are stacking, even on a modest budget, over time, you will accumulate very large volumes and weights of silver quite quickly. And to put this in perspective, if you've got a budget of, let's call it $200 a month, which is a fair amount, let's not lie, it's a decent amount of money to be able to save every month. And one would hope that on sort of average earnings at the moment that you would be able to save around that amount of money, so £150, $200 a month. And if you spend that on silver across a year, you're going to be accumulating quite a decent amount. We're talking nearly 2 kilos a year. You do that for 10 years and all of a sudden you've got 20 kilos, which is actually a lot more than you think. It's one of these giant boxes. We're sort of, what, 2/3 of the way through this first box of 20 kilos. So you can imagine over a period of time that actually becomes quite a significant pile of silver. The management of that is going to be important about how you store it, where you store it, the conditions you store it in. Of course, as I mentioned, there are toning related issues, milk spotting related issues for these. Another thing to factor in that a lot of people don't necessarily think about, certainly more relevant to us in the United Kingdom, is we have to buy coin silver because the vast majority of bullion, silver anyway, in the UK is taxed. And if you buy from places like the European Mint, like we've done in this particular order, then you get coins because bars are taxed, regardless of whether they come from Europe or not. So, a little bit of casting grain there. So the point is that you have to factor in that you're going to have these tubes, which take up additional volume, capsules, which take up additional volume, and also have some extra weight. And it's always annoying for me to do these orders and explain to customers that you can order up to approximately 2 kilos worth to put in a parcel and send to you economically. But that's not 2 kilos of silver, that's like 1.6 kilos of silver, because the vast majority of the rest of the weight is taken up by the capsules, the storage, the packaging, the tubes, whatever else they come in. So it all adds up quite a lot. And over a long period of time, as I said, over, let's call it a 10-year period, which in the grand scheme of stacking silver is, in my opinion, not even that long a period. You're looking at it suddenly being quite a large pile of wealth, a large pile of silver, which in its own right is a really good thing, but it is impractical. That's my point. And if you do need to move it, or if you're moving house, it's something that you have to factor in. You have to think about how logistically you're going to do it. Of course, if you've got a giant safe, that's another thing to think about. A lot of people think a giant safe, gun safe or whatever it might be, is the simple answer to all of your problems. However, in my opinion, a safe is really only as good as it is when it's on its own. If you're in the house when somebody burgles you, you're going to be in trouble. They're going to put something, gun to your head, knife to your throat, and they're going to get you to open that safe. In my opinion, that is just not a safe if you're in. The whole purpose of a safe is to delay people from getting into your precious area, your wealth. So a giant safe, giant 100 kilo safe with 100 kilos worth of silver in it that you've stacked over 15, 20 years, how are you going to move it? You're going to get a professional company to do it. They're going to then know that you've got that. There's all of these things to factor in. It's not very easy. Now, all of this leads me to one last point which I want to make before I move on to box 2, because we're pretty much, in fact, this is the last little jiffy bag for box 1, which is that despite my devil's advocate view here, I genuinely do think that buying silver right now in bulk is a good idea. Because I think for the long period, for the long term, we are looking at some significant instability in the world. I think we're looking at economic fallout happening in the world, certainly for the next few years and beyond into the rest of the decade, basically. And I think having wealth, having physical wealth, is going to outweigh these negative issues which I'm highlighting today. But they are things to factor in. They are things to think about if you are considering stacking silver, and if you're considering stacking silver over a long period of time, I think there's definitely things to think about, which I know that I didn't think about when I got started stacking silver. So lots to consider, I think, is my best advice for you all out there. So I am now going to crack on with box 2. This is, by the way, this is monumental. I haven't really unboxed something like this for a long time. I think the last biggest unboxing we did was back in early 2019 when it was around about this weight. I think the largest one we've ever done was about 45 kilos. So I do think this is going to be the biggest single unboxing that I've ever done by weight, certainly by value, of course, with the spot price where it is right now. We've seen some really, really big increases in price for just generally stacking silver, and I think that a lot of this price increase has definitely affected people's ability to purchase volume. However, that's been mitigated by Brexit. It's everybody's favourite topic. It's certainly relevant in the news right now, but crikey, this is one order to rule them all. If you had this in Middle Earth, it would certainly be that ring of power. Crikey. You know, we're talking over the entire group order, which is the last one, by the way, before Brexit happens, of over 100 kilos. That represents, by the way, around 89,000 euros, which is probably about, what, 80,000, maybe a little more than 80,000 pounds, something like that. Probably about $95,000. You know, we're talking significant sums of money. That is, of course, a huge sum of money that is going to be life-changing for a vast majority of people in this world. However, when you think about it, though, it's not like retiring to a mansion in the Caribbean money. You know, you're not talking vast sums here that you can just sit on your laurels. That's it, I'm done. No more life for me. I'm just going to go and do bugger all. You know, you're talking quite a lot, but not enough to retire on. So again, 100 kilos. You know, imagine this, what we're seeing here. This is box 2 and 3, remember? We did the first box last week. These two now, and then there's one more still to come. Imagine all of that laid out on the table. It's a lot. It's impractical. That's just my general opinion. I do genuinely think that. Now, is the impracticability so impractical that it's not worth it? I'm going to say evidently no, because I have a significant amount of silver bullion investments. They are planned to be liquidated into gold one day, and that's the long-term practicality for me, to have gold as opposed to silver. And the reason for that, I think, is my final point which I want to make throughout this video. And I know it's been a long one, and I know a lot of you will be probably sick of all of the rustling of the bags and the jiffy bags and things like that. But please bear with me. If you've been watching this far, I think this is the nicest or the coolest point that I want to make about all of this. For me, silver is a means to an end. It is a means to accumulate more gold. And gold I have and always will see. Well, I haven't always. I started out thinking silver was better. But gold I have now come round to as that perfect asset for me. It is the perfect asset, and it is one which I will continue to stack long into the future. It has so much more security and stability for me, for what I want to achieve from it as a precious metal investment. The ability for it to be liquidated far, far quicker without having issues around premiums, around getting only spot price from dealers when I've paid a premium of 15, 20, 30% or more. That's a big deal for me. So to be able to buy my precious metals at a decent premium over spot, a couple of percent over spot, and then be able to liquidate it for spot or even a little bit more, is the single most important thing for me. If we, as the Backyard Bullion household, needed to release funds quickly, and I mean in an emergency, we're talking, you know, the brown stuff's hit the fan and you need some cash, or something happens, and gosh knows, things happen all the time. It is important to have that liquidity, for me anyway. So I am more than happy to buy silver. I'm more than happy to stack silver. But it is always a means to an end of accumulation of gold. And the gold is the liquidatable secure asset. If I was up the Brown Creek and I needed some cash, I would not liquidate my silver. That would be the last thing to go. It would be gold first, followed by the silver. And the strategy for me is to take the silver that I am buying as an investment and convert it into gold using alchemy. No, using simple selling, you know, just simple sales tactics as and when the spot prices are relevant, as and when it gets to a point where I feel that it's a good return on it if it's a premium item, or just if I feel like over time I need to buy, like for example, I want to buy my monthly ounce of gold or a monthly deposit of gold into my gold stack, then I want to get some funds. Perhaps it's been a bit of a quiet month on the backyard bullion poured silver. By the way, I don't earn an ounce of gold a month from my poured silver. That would be wonderful, wouldn't it? But the point is that I would be able to liquidate the silver to buy the gold. So it's me locking up the investment now, but having the ability to convert it into what I really truly want later, because I do think there's room for silver to grow over time. So that's my general thoughts on silver and whether it's a good or bad idea. I would love to know your opinions on it. Generally, I know there's going to be some differing opinions. Gosh, we've still got like half a box still to go. So I know there's going to be a lot of differing opinions on whether or not silver is a good buy. Now, of course, 2020 is like the year of craziness. So we're all going to have very differing opinions on it. And I do genuinely think that the economic impact is so much in metal's favour generally, that even right now at high premiums and you know, sort of high unit costs, and we're not talking even like massive unit costs, but at the moment even £22 an ounce silver in bulk I think is still something that is really quite good value. And I do think as well, what I haven't mentioned is that with this year we've now seen a shifting, a new paradigm shift to a new norm level of silver prices. So you've got this new, I think £18 an ounce is like it's a new low ceiling, if that makes sense, a new floor, to which I can't see a very large movement below anytime soon. Now, of course, currency values will fluctuate and it might go down a little bit, but I genuinely think we've hit this new norm. Before this, it was around the £14 an ounce mark, and the kind of low ceiling point was approximately kind of 10, 11, 12 pounds an ounce. But now I think that new low point is £18 an ounce, and it's going to fluctuate between 18 and sort of 20, 22 pounds an ounce for now. I think over time that price will of course increase. It's going to be interesting though with how the recovery happens, because we're seeing news of vaccines coming out, and that's of course great. It allows people the ability to foresee, to sort of have some hope about normality returning at some point in the not too distant future, which is of course what everybody truly wants. So there is going to be, I think, a time in the future when we are all back to normal, but I can't see it happening anytime soon. And I do think there's going to be more economic woes to come. So my general feeling is silver and gold is going to be important. So anyway, that's my thoughts. 25 minutes of rambling as I open up all of these jiffy bags and get all of this silver out on the table. I mean, I just love doing this, and I want to finish this video, I think, with a little bit of a thank you to everybody who's joined in on these group orders to make something like this possible. I know there are some dealers out there that have shown videos with more silver, but I kind of feel like we're holding a record right now of the largest single unboxing of precious metals on YouTube. I mean, feel free to point me in the direction of somebody who's unboxed more in one go, but you know, right now we're looking at 50 kilos of silver, which in ounces form is, gosh, what, about 1,500 ounces, something like that. So, you know, we are, I think, going to hold a record for one of the largest unboxings of silver here on YouTube, which is no mean feat, and that's completely down to all of you guys that have joined in the order purchasing, and of course you guys here on YouTube watching as well, because without the audience and demand for these type of videos, we wouldn't actually be here. So yeah, I've noticed actually, you probably guys have noticed as well, there's a few of these 10-ounce capsules that have got big old cracks in them. That's there's another one here on the Valiant, so that's going to be a conversation to be had with the European Mint to see what's happening there. I mean, in terms of the packaging, it all seems to be pretty good. You know, some Jiffy bags within, you know, big boxes. So we'll have to ask them about that, see what is possible for them. I know that some of these were for me, so you know, it's like I might just keep the ones with the broken capsules and I'll sort it out myself. I think that's probably the easiest thing to do, but I don't know, we'll see how it goes. So yeah, there we go, last little Jiffy bag coming out, and in rather typical fashion. This is telling, isn't it? I mean, we had some gold in the first order, but this is completely telling. This is what was in the very last little Jiffy bag. Throwing it around everywhere. I've thrown it on the floor. 1 tiny gram of gold. I can see it. It's gone right underneath my table. So you'll have to take my word for it as I throw gold around willy-nilly against a backdrop of a ridiculous volume of silver. So here it is. Here is, gosh, probably over 1,500 ounces, including a bunch of silver casting grain. That is a sight to behold for sure. For those of you who are naysayers saying, it's all fake, there's nothing in these tubes, let's just quickly crack open one of these tubes. There you go, bunch of silver in there as well. There is 1,500 ounces thereabouts on the table, quite a lot of monetary value, and a big thank you to everybody here on YouTube for sticking with this video. It's probably my longest unboxing I've ever done at 28 odd minutes. So a huge thank you to you all. If you have enjoyed it, put the thumbs up on this video and tell YouTube that you have enjoyed it as well. It'd be very helpful. And if you want to see more videos, I don't know quite how I'm going to do this, whether we're going to have another little overview, a more slightly organized approach for this. I suspect not, because it's kind of just self-explanatory what it is. In fact, maybe I'll just take a few moments just to very briefly say that I think the vast majority of this particular order is Britannia's. We've got a significant amount in tubes here. I mean, gosh, God, how many tubes have we got? Let's even have a very quick count. 9, 10, 11, 12, 15, 18, 21, 24, 27, 30, 33, 36, 39, 40, 41, 43 tubes worth of silver there. That is quite the sight, let me tell you. You don't get to see that very often. Oh God, they're all heavy as well. So there'll be some Britannias in there, there'll be some Queen's Beasts in there. We've got the 10 ounces here. There's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, about 3,320, maybe a little bit more, miscounted, ounces worth there. We've obviously got all the casting grain. That's quite a significant amount of weight here as well. There's even more, 10 ounces over there. I didn't count, so probably 350 ounces. 2 more tubes that I forgot to add in there as well. All the loose silver coins too. That's a lot of silver. That is a lot of silver. Got some premium coloured coins over here as well. So that's a tasty pile. If ever you wanted to see a tasty pile of silver, I think that is it. So look, that is it for me here now on this video. What a video it has been. As I said, if you've enjoyed it, thumbs up. If you want to see more videos like this in the future, there will be one more unboxing to come at least. I suspect there might be another one as well, but we'll see how that goes between now and the end of the month and into December. So that's it. Thank you all for watching. I hope you have a fantastic week ahead. And as always, please make sure that you like, share, comment, and subscribe for more.